All right. It's another wonderful day. Hello. Welcome to my channel. If this is the first time you're visiting me, thank you so much for taking your time to visit me today. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much as always. I'm glad to have you always visit me. As a way of introduction, I am Joy B, as my friends do call me. Please don't forget to click the subscribe button right there and share this video and recommend to your friends and colleagues about this podcast and this community where I am trying to grow in terms of Agile and Scrum. All right, with that said, let's get into the topic for today. If you have been following my conversation, I've been trying as much as I can to take issues from the preliminaries to the intermediary to the advanced level. So today I am going to talk about one key topic that a lot of people has been messaging me privately to ask some information on how companies can transition from Waterfall to Scrum or Agile as a general umbrella. So today I would love to address and make some recommendation. If you don't understand what traditional Waterfall is, I have made a video on Waterfall. Please go and watch my content on that. But just to give a summary about Waterfall, Waterfall is one of the project management methodologies, which has been the previous and have been easier way of working on softwares and other product development. Now we are in the new era where a lot of companies are transitioning into Agile. Agile is another project management methodology. And under Agile, we have different frameworks, and Scrum is one of them. Now, how can company, organization, teams that are practicing Waterfall transition into Scrum? I do believe that before an organization can make that huge and quantum leap, there are some things that should be put into consideration. And those items to put into consideration are the key points of today's conversation. However, knowledge without application is no knowledge at all. So today I am going to provide us some simple guide or guidelines or step-by-step or even approaches on how organizations and teams can move from or transition from Waterfall to Agile. Again, at any point in time throughout this conversation, you are not sure about any of my explanation, please put your question or your concern in the comment section, or you think there are things I haven't covered that I could have covered in this topic, please go ahead and drop your comment in the comment section, and together we will grow together. All right. Having said that, based on my knowledge, experience, and research, I've come to realize that there are basically three phases of moving from Waterfall to Agile or Scrum, as you can, if I have to be very specific. And also there are about 10 steps to take in order to say we have completely, wholly and entirely moved from Waterfall to Scrum. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the phases. There are three phases. In other words, what summarizes things that could be done. The first is the planning phase. For some people, you have to do an audit. We'll come to that later, which falls into the steps. You need to recognize and put a lot of this into consideration. For example, the right people you should have, the process you should put into place, the support you should have, and some kind of barriers that you might encounter. So you should put some things into consideration. These are the phases. The first phase, you need to plan it. You need to have a conversation with, and the conversation starts on the executive level where the management has to sit down and say, okay, are we really moving forward in terms of transitioning from waterfall to agile? That conversation needs to happen. That is what happens in the planning phase. The training phase is where you hire professionals, trainers, and who can help to set up your teams, both on the team level and also on the executive level. Because for Scrum to function, most people or most organizations want to cut corners by having some members of the company help to set up the teams. Well, you can't pay Peter, you can't rob Paul to pay Peter. It's my work in the interim level, or it's my work in the on the short-term level, but based on statistics or based on research, there's always a long-term consequence. And you could spend more money when things are really getting out of hand. So you need to think about or budget about some trainings that have to happen by hiring professionals. And that is why at this point you need to seek the consultation of I need Scrum Master, where we provide that kind of consulting services, or where we provide that kind of assistance to set up your team, both on the team level and also on the executive level. The third phase is the coaching phase. This is where you support for people to change their thinking or their mindsets. After you must have set up your team, there is always the propensity, the tendency, in fact, the risk based on statistics is most organizations will have to rely or go back to their old habits, which is the traditional way of working. So in order not to fall into that kind of trap, it's very, very tricky. You need the assistance, you need that coaching sections of professionals. These are people who also providing the training, right? That is why we have agile consultants, agile coaches. These are people who are really well refined and trained in order to provide those kind of services. So planning, training, and coaching. These are the three phases you need to put into consideration in order to transition smoothly, completely, and entirely from Waterfall to Scrum. Now, what are the steps you need to take? Again, like I said, there are about 10 steps you could take in order to say with all certainty that you have completely, or you are about to transition from Waterfall to Agile or Scrum. The first is to conduct an audit. Auditing means that you have to figure out where you are, the current practice of your team, your organization, the process, the methods, and the structures. In other words, where you are and the future process, methods, and structure. Scrum has structure. Those structures are found in the sprints. We have about 5 Scrum events or ceremonies. We have, apart from the sprinting, we also have some kind of high-level activities like release planning, like portfolio planning, like roadmap, product roadmap sections. These are kind of processes and structures and methods. Again, you need to also understand that you have to identify the kind of teams you need to have. Are you going with kind of, this is outside the scope of this conversation. Are you going to have like a Kanban team? Are you going to have like a Scrum team? Are you going to use like the Spotify model? These are different structures that you might need to consider. Again, don't bother if I go outside or if I say or kind of come up with a technique that you're not sure of. It is out of the scope. I'm just trying to make sure you understand when I say structure, method, and process. You can really here that Scrum has structure. After doing some kind of audits where you are and where you are moving to, the next step you need to do is to identify and recruit talent. In other words, you need to have the people who will be identified or who will be categorized as the Scrum team or the Agile team. This is the time where you need to have people that are trained. And if you don't have those people already, that is why you need to consult any Scrum Master to help you in that regard. You need to also consider and ensure that you have proper training. What I mean by that, the people you hire, let's say, for example, some members of the organizations who are not well trained in Scrum. Maybe you have your developers who don't understand what it means to work in an agile environment, or you have your project managers or portfolio managers or program managers. You need to train them. You need to make sure that they receive the adequate training materials, either attending conferences or seminars. These are different ways they can get trained. The fourth one is to mobilize the transition team. This is more or less on the executive level, people that are in decision making, right? These are people that will help to enable such Scrum environment to flourish. You also need to identify the pilot projects. What I mean by pilot project is the projects your team or the new formed Scrum team is going to work on. And I would recommend just start with one project. The idea is you need to, first of all, to experiment and see if this team will be able to succeed, even though if at any case, the team doesn't really succeed. It depends on how you define success. I mean, you can really figure out what contributes towards why the team failed. That would help you. And you could start with a project that wouldn't have like a huge downside on the overall business of the organization. Now, another one, you also maximize environment efficiency. It is not just about having the team, it's also about the environment. If I am going into an organization, I want to make sure that the environment is very conducive and convenient for me to become successful. I need to identify people I will be working with, my supervisors, managers. I need to also make sure that people I'm going to work with are going to help me to become much more efficient. It is not about the company, it's about the environment. The environment could be like, okay, the company, the culture or the mission of the company is quite so different. I don't know if you must have paid attention if you're applying for a position, a new position, and they ask you, why do you want to work with us? For me, one of the things I used to touch on is, well, I think the organization's mission statement or the culture resonates with my personality because I want to become successful, right? I want to become more efficient because if I don't have that conducive environment to become efficient, in other words, I might not really flourish. So you need to have that environment or create that environment that will help not just the team, but also the project to become a success. You also need to have or consider in order to reduce single point of failure. One of the huge contributing points to why organizations fail in transitioning to Scrum is they have team members that can't do different things. One person, one thing. It doesn't create cross-functionality. Cross-functionality is that everybody on the team can do more than one thing. So that if perhaps in a sprint, let's say Mr. Philip goes on a vacation and Mr. Philip is working on iOS or Android, another developer on the team can take up and execute that particular issue or that particular kind of task. Cross-functionality means that team members, even without the presence of the Scrum Master, can own the ceremony. But I'm not saying that the Scrum Master's guidance is not needed. I'm just trying to explain what cross-functionality means, that every person on the team can do more than one thing. So in such a way, you are reducing single point of failure. With that, another step you'll take is to make sure that the team understands what it means to have definition of done. It's really so funny when you ask a developer, for example, Mr. Philip, are you done with XYZ ticket? And he will say, yes, I am done. Right? And then you go further to ask, have you tried to fix XYZ? He says, well, I haven't fixed XYZ. I'm about to. So I am almost. Sometimes team members need to understand what done is and what done. Done means that every I's has been dotted and every T's have been crossed. Done means that what the team has agreed to do in order to consider that story to be done has all been checkmarked. So team members need to understand that so that would help them in their idea of practicing Scrum. The other one is you need to kick off that pilot project. As soon as all of these has been put into place, then the project should be, given the signal to start. And the final, but not the least thing to consider is to inspect and adapt. Inspect and adapt is one. These are 2 out of the 3 Scrum pillars. We have transparency, we have inspection, we have adaptation. As soon as this project has kick-started, the team needs to always to inspect to measure progress and see if they are really on course or if they are getting off course. Based on that inspection and adaptation, it will help the team to be able to always keep each other in check. And overall, even though I have also covered that, you would always need the value contribution of a Scrum Master. You always need an Agile coach. You know why? Because I haven't seen a team that would ever succeed without a coach. I haven't seen a soccer team or any kind of team, either in sports or in entertainment, that would ever succeed without having a coach. That is why you need Scrum Master in your organization. So if you are a practicing Scrum Master and you are struggling in terms of step-by-step ideas to consider when you are helping your team or helping your organization to transition, here you go. I have made it easier for you. All right. So what are you going to do? Please share this so that others are going to benefit. Like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel. And if you think that Scrum is a career for you, you've been hearing about Scrum to become a Scrum Master, you know what you're going to do? Email me at info@ineedscrummaster.com or visit www.ineedscrummaster.com. Or you can even put a comment in the comment section, say, hey, JB, I've been hearing about Scrum and Scrum Master. I'm not sure what to do. Can you help? Just put that in the comment section and we'll get started. All right. That is where we're going to stop for today. I hope that you find this very much helpful. If you do, please, as always, refer me to your friends, share this on your social media platforms, and let us grow and learn together. Have a lovely and wonderful day. I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.